Nothing says that the deputy party leader is the automatic candidate of the party for the flag bearer or the party ticket in 2022. If he wants to run for the party ticket, he needs to set up his own secretariat, organize his campaign from there. He cannot come to the party headquarters because he can have access and undue advantage over his competitors. He can play around with the numbers, with the membership files, with the way he did in 2017 party nominations for the Jubilee tickets.
If you claim that he did this in 2017, why didn't the party come out and deal with it then, if he's known to work this way?
Nobody knew this until after the fact. And by then, it was too late. There was an election to win. And we were like, look, if you rigged in somebody in Mathera, the other person had an opportunity to run as an independent, the more the merrier. As the independent was drawing up his supporters to come and vote for him, the way the Jubilee candidate was pulling crowds to vote for them, at the top, the total effect would have been a bigger turnout for the president's basket, because all those votes at the top were very clear. And in a case, the local nature of the politics, we agreed, let the people decide, let the best man win. Obviously, if you won the Jubilee ticket, it was 114. There are very few instances. I think it's only Kirinyaga, for example, where the senator won on an independent ticket. Most in Juja, I think in Thika Town, where Django also won the seat as an independent. It was a wave, Anne. And so to get the ticket, the nomination ticket for Jubilee in 2017 was halfway there. Actually, it was like Luo Nyanza. The minute you have an ODM ticket, you are almost there. And sometimes they don't even campaign. I'll give you an example of James Orengo. The minute he got the Siaya ODM ticket, he never set foot in Sierra again, in his constituency.
All right.
He went around the country campaigning for Raila Amolo Odinga.
But be that as it may, and you've said that there's due process in the party, this is a recommendation, it will go to the neck, etc., all the way to the top. But I'm just asking for your own feeling. You've said he is left in all but name. Do you think that this is the ultimate decision that the party should arrive at, that the deputy president should no longer be deputy party leader? Full stop.
We have a very queer constitution, both national and party. In the national constitution, the president cannot sack the deputy president. The party constitution also says that the deputy president is the deputy party leader. So the two are intertwined. So unless he resigns as the deputy president, it would be difficult to remove him as the deputy party leader. However, the disciplinary committee has the power to discipline him if he continues to show disrespect, if his handlers and his supporters and his allies continue with the kind of insults that they're having. Of course, we can organize impeachment on the floor of the House in Parliament. We are not there yet.
But it sounds like you're heading there. Are you?
No, sometimes, you know, the party leader is very magnanimous. And sometimes people mistake his niceness for weakness. But I think he's having a bigger agenda for this country, a bigger agenda about unity, a bigger agenda about peace. And that is why we supported the handshake. Because with the handshake, there was a lot of stability, there was a lot of peace in this country. Now, the guys who are trying to disrupt the peace right now, unfortunately, are from within our own rank and file.
All right. But it sounds like you're saying that he wouldn't mind that route, that the party leader wouldn't mind that route. But I don't want to open that kind of worms not today at least. The Elgeyo Marakwet senator and your former majority leader in the Senate, Kipchumba Murkomen, has called on the president to instead fire you and the party secretary general for bringing division to the party. And he has argued that the president cannot unite the country, the very thing you're talking about right now, without uniting his own house, Jubilee. So do the events of Murang'a today prove Murkomen right, if only to the extent that there does appear to be a paradox when there is talk of unity and all that unity appears to unite everyone except the deputy president or those who support him?
These are sour grapes, Anne. Murkomen, as the leader of the majority in the Senate, was among the fellows who were mobilizing senators not to attend a PG, a parliamentary group meeting called by the party leader at State House early in the year. And for that, Murkomen was sacked as a majority leader. And by virtue of being sacked as the leader of the majority in the Senate, he lost his seat in the party. He was a member of the NEC by virtue of being the majority leader. The minute he ceased being that, nobody touched him, but it's automatic that you cease to be the leader of the majority, you go home. Having said that, I think it is incumbent upon the Deputy President to embrace the handshake. And they have resisted this handshake from the very beginning. And I've said, fine, so Muslims can marry up to 4 wives. It doesn't mean that the second wife comes in and the first wife is very happy and she is all over jumping up and about that the husband has brought in the second wife, or the third one for that matter, or the fourth one. So they have to live with it, because the president shook hands with the deputy president in 2013 for a peace dividend between the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin nation after the post-election violence. In 2017, he shook hands with the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who was NASA captain that time. And remember the Machozi Mondays, the Machozi Fridays, the country was becoming ungovernable. Instead of the deputy president being part of the reasoning of the party leader, they started the resistance. And the reason they are fighting me and the National Management Committee members is because we have embraced the handshake. Obviously, they were not amused when we agreed not to run a candidate for Msambweni in the spirit of the handshake. And to make it worse, they have become so petty. They are going after the Secretary General of the party just because he's a Luo, trying to stereotype and to profile him and start calling him all manner of names and saying he's an ODM sympathizer and that he should get out and go to ODM, he's a Raila campaigner. Of course not. Who told them that the Secretary General of the party may not actually even want to be a candidate, a Jubilee candidate, come 2022? He has been a candidate before. So they should stop stereotyping and profiling Raphael Tuju.
All right. I want to move on to Huduma number just briefly. The Deputy President's allies have claimed that Huduma number will be used to interfere with the elections. This project has, beyond that, been riddled with various false starts and concerns on the privacy of citizens' data and so on. So why is this project, do you think, so controversial? And why does this administration believe it is so necessary, even at this time when we are exacerbated with so many other problems?
It's because they choose not to want to understand what the Huduma number is all about. Huduma number is the equivalent of the Social Security number in the United States of America. The minute people went and took the Huduma number, people went to court. People went to court about intrusion into their personal lives, intrusion about what they have, what they own. And let me tell you, if this Huduma number was operational today or during COVID, you know, government has been supporting any elderly after 70. You know, government has been supporting the Kazi Mtaani. These are thousands of people for whom the government is sending money. If the Huduma number was operational, because it also has your mobile number, it has your ID number, it has a single number for all your activities. This is the number they would be using to send money directly to the recipient. You don't need the chief, you don't need the DO, you don't need the middleman, you don't need people to go around your village saying this one is over 70, this one is deserving, this one is not deserving. The data and the information contained in the Huduma number would inform even your own economic circumstances. And it would inform who are the needy cases. And it would inform the interventions necessary by government to support, particularly in this COVID era, the persons who are the most vulnerable, who needed that government stipend, whether it is 1,000, 2,000, or 600 shillings a day, or 500 shillings a day. And that, Anne, is what the whole thing is all about. With one number, you can use it to get your passport. It is the same number you use for your driving license. It is the same number for registration of death and births and certificates. Look, the IT age, unless people don't want their biodata to be captured for whatever reason, this is the future.
But let me ask you this, David, because I beg your pardon, to many this is either another white elephant kind of project in the making at best, and at worst is a waste of public funds and a misreading of citizens' priorities, or even projects that can positively impact the president's legacy. I mean, what is your response to this? This just does not seem to be the priority for Kenyans, and shouldn't Jubilee be focusing on the priority of Kenyans?
It is so urgent that if your data is captured and you're someplace in Isiolo or you're in Marsabit, once you are linked to the center through information technology, because we are no longer analog, and we have moved on, and somebody somewhere sitting would be able to capture, for example, your condition and even prescribe from England or South Africa or from India the kind of interventions or treatment that you need to deal with a certain condition. So you don't even have to travel. There's so many benefits of this number. These people are being economical with the truth, and they are being hypocritical, and they know, for example, rigging is not done through those kind of numbers. The Deputy President has been part and parcel of the campaign machinery for Jubilee. When they talk about the intention to rig 2 years down the road, it sounds like they're too used to this rigging. I know they rigged the party nominations. I hear about the servers of the final election results, but I know the amount of work we had put into that election, physical votes. We were on something like 54%, NASA was on 44%, and the other 2% was shared by the rest.
David, so sounds like you're stopping shy of saying that Jubilee did rig the presidential election.
Are they experts of rigging?
Yeah, but you're just stopping shy of saying that Jubilee did rig the presidential election, but it wasn't your side of Jubilee that did it.
I said, no, and I said, in fact, our quarrel with Murang'a was that it should have been possible, instead of talking about the servers being opened and whatever, it should have been possible to take us to Kasarani Stadium and pour the actual physical ballot papers for the presidential elections, complete with international observers, and count one by one vote and see what the numbers would end up with, rather than taking this country through another expensive second round elections, the NASA boycotted.
Let leave that can of worms and ask you, well, clearly, I'm driving from the frying pan into the fire. When is BBI coming? Right Honorable says that it's ready. When is it coming? Do you have a date? When will we see this report finally?
And I have no idea. That report is supposed to be presented to the two principals, probably as early as this week.
As early as this week?
I have no idea. I spoke to the former Prime Minister. Actually, I understand it should have been presented much, much earlier, but because of certain dynamics, that was put on hold. But you can expect that it will be soon, sooner than later.
No, you've said this week, and this week from David Murathe is probably going to signal to a lot of Kenyans that it is, in fact, happening sometime this week. But be that as it may, our economy right now, as you know, is in the tanks. Thousands of Kenyans have lost their jobs, joining millions more who have remained unemployed for quite some time. So is the Jubilee administration's biggest issue right now spending money that we clearly don't have on a referendum?
It is a small price to pay for stability, for unity, for giving people an opportunity to determine how they want to be governed. By the way, and people take a lot of these things for granted. And for a very long time, Kenya has been the only island of peace in the region. When most of these other countries were in turmoil, Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Sudan, South Sudan, that was the time there were issues in Uganda, in Rwanda, in DRC. Kenya has maintained a modicum of stability and peace. One of the reasons that this happens is because you keep on refining your governance systems. The Building Bridges initiative is supposed to make sure that those things that divide us are addressed in a constitutional ingrained document that gives the rules of engagement, the do's and the don'ts, and the expectations. And that is why you find we are supporting the Building Bridges initiative. It is a small price to pay. You can imagine what would happen in the alternative.
Small price for who?
If this
a majority of Kenyans live in abject poverty, sir. Small price to pay for who? I mean, you are sitting talking about public money, which if you were to ask the public how they would actually prefer billions to be spent, you might get very different results. So when you talk about a small price, really the price isn't being paid by political insiders like you are. It's being paid by Wanjiku. Are you certain? Have you considered a scenario where BBI goes to the people and fails?
Well, that is the point that we are saying, let the people decide. There are so many narratives being bandied around this country. The hustler narrative, for example, and you and I know the guy is actually not a hustler. He's a rustler. And we know he goes and rustles. He's no,
so
he's
you cannot
no
use
Robin
that
Hood.
term. You cannot use that term. You know what it is
But
synonymous
look,
with in our country. It's synonymous with violence.
You cannot purport to be supporting the poor with a class struggle kind of fight. Do you know the most dangerous class warfare? Class warfare between the haves and the have-nots is worse than a tribal conflict, because the majority of the people consider any middle class as a have, and anybody who does not have, and that is the majority all over the world. It is not just Kenya here. When you have that kind of fights, which are sometimes sponsored by foreign interventions, the George Soros of this world, you are actually setting a precedent and a recipe for chaos, and this thing will go down to the villages, to the towns, to the slums, and you cannot stop it. So I cannot understand how somebody who has what is called a hustler jet goes out and tells people how they are supposed to be emancipated by somebody who has been in government for 8 years. This person has been part and parcel of this government, and we wonder what is it that he wants to do for this nation in his new administration, which he has not done for the 8 years where he has been a co-president in this Jubilee administration from 2013 to now, so that he has to go back to his pocket and start giving out wheelbarrows and I don't know, mikokoteni and whatever. My friend, I think we are going into a very dangerous tangent, and for which, by the way, people need to be very, very, very careful.
I think there is truth to the extent that you have said that the Deputy President, has been part and parcel of this administration. Well, I hope you can hear me now. David, can you hear me?
No sound.
Oh dear, he seems to have lost us. Let's give it another shot. David, can you hear us? All right, we're going to take possibly a quick break. Back with final remarks from David Murathe. Stay with us.